In this lesson I'm going to show you very quickly how to make a clock. Now first of all I've gone into View and I've gone into View Preferences, selected Hoop, and I've made a custom hoop, and I've also changed the drop down menu to Circle and a radius of 75 millimeters. Now the radius is not right across, it's only from the outside to the center of the circle. It will depend what size clock you want to make, but I'm just using this as an example, so I'll click OK. Now what I want to do is make another circle within that circle. So I'm just going to use the arc tool, and I'm just going to click across the center and pull that arc to the top. Go across to the other side and pull the arc down to the bottom there. Click Enter and Escape. Now I have a circle that's actually the same size as that hoop size. So I want to change that. First of all, I'm just going to change the color of it to make it a little bit easier to see. Then I'm going to select it, and I'm going to just change the size of the circle down to 120 and click OK. And I'm just going to make a line across the diameter of the circle and click OK. Now I'm just going to move that down a fraction because I haven't actually got it right on that center line where I want. When I have it just about dead center, I'm going to select it and I'm going to change the color of it just to make it easier to see. Now I'm going to do a Control C and a Control V, and I'm going to rotate that. Now I have my 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock placement line. Whilst that one is still selected, I'm going to do a Control C and Control V. This time I'm going to rotate it 30 degrees, so the angle will be 30. Whilst that's selected again, Control C and Control V, and do that one, next one, another 30. So now you see that I have those lines there. Now I'm going to select the crossbar, Control C, Control V, and 30 degrees, and again Control C and Control V, and another 30 degrees. Now you'll see that we have the placement lines to put the numbers on the clock. Now I'm only going to use 12, 3, 6 and 9 numbers on my clock. I'm going to use designs in these areas. So I'm just going to open a design that I've made, which is a very small heart design. If I can find it amongst all my... Okay, won't find it there, will I? I have to find it in here. I'm trying to open clip art, won't work. Alright, so there's my heart. I'm just going to check the size of it. I'm going to reduce that down to 15 and click OK and generate. Now I'm going to copy the heart. I'm going to close that window. I'm going to paste the heart, and that's the heart. Now I'm going to try and get it on that center part of that line. Now if I do a Control C, Control V, and I rotate that heart twice by 30 degrees, I can place that on that cross section. C, V, rotate it 30 degrees, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm rotating it so it's fitting on the line. C and V again. This time I have to do it twice because I'm missing that middle 6 o'clock. This one's done twice. Each time you hear me on my keyboard, I'm just copy and pasting. Now you see I've got my hearts placed around my clock. Now I'm going to select a font, I'll just use the Arial font, and I'm going to type in a 3, a 6, a 9, a 1 and a 2. Whilst they're selected, I'll highlight them. I'm going to select bold, and I'm going to change the size down to 12.5 and click OK and generate. Now you see that I have all my numbers. Now they're all joined together, so I'm just going to separate them by hitting my ungroup, and I can move my 3, my 6, my 9, and I'm just going to select both of these and merge them together and then bring them up the top. Now I'm going to just select all those and just change the colour of them. And now I have my hands of my clock. All I need to do now is make a circle for the centre part of the clock. So I've just drawn a circle. Now I'm going to go to Stitch, Create Outline on Satin Border. I'm going to make it 2 and click OK and generate. Now I'm going to select Control Delete, and I might change the colour of that to black. So you can see where I've placed my designs, where I'd place my lines. Okay, so I can now remove those lines by Control Delete, and I have my placement of my clock. The next thing to do is remove that circle because I don't need that anymore. Control Delete. So now I have my nice placements around my clock, and that's how the clock will look with the little hearts. Now I could add a design if I want to in here, so I'm just going to open. I've just got some doves, some small doves that I'd saved on my computer, if I can find them, that is. There they are. Click OK. Generate. I'll just turn off that. We have a look at those. Very simple design. So I'm going to select them all. I'm going to copy. I'm going to close that window. I want to save them. I'm going to paste them into this window. And I can move my background again. So I just place that where I want it in my design. Now I could do a Control C, Control V, and move them down. And I've got doves now above and below my clock. So if I do a 3D view, that is a very, very simple clock, but I just thought you might like to learn how to do the little crossbars to make placement very easy. If you look at that, it's not quite where I want it, so I can just jog that into position using my arrows on my keyboard. Now that's all that's left for me to do is I'm going to put a cross in the center. Because this whole clock will be bigger than my largest hoop, I need to split it into 2. So by putting in cross lines across that center part, I didn't like that it did that, and it wasn't very straight. Hit enter, and I'll just move that over. Whilst it's selected, I can do a copy and paste and a rotate. Now I'll select both those, change the colour of them to a purple, and there's my crossbar for placement of the centre of my clock. It will depend on the size of the clock that you want to use, on how big your circle, etc., how big your mechanism part for the hands is in the centre. So now if I want to machine that out, I need to split it into 2 designs. So I would split it so that I have those parts of the designs plus the 3 plus the doves plus the placement cross. And that would be one part of my design in my first hooping. In my second hooping, I would make the cross first, then the circle, and then the rest of my design. So after I finish sewing the top of the clock, I'll get a placement line, and I just need to use that then to help me line up for the second part of my clock. Have fun using this clock lesson.